This is a video that I started working on years ago. I don't know, it was maybe 10 years ago. One of the dreams that I had is that I wanted to go work at NASA. My name is Inta Mitterbach, and today is Friday, April 6, 2012. I'm in Lakewood, Ohio of the United States, and I put this together. It's a slideshow, a PowerPoint slideshow, and it was kind of a collection of my thoughts about my dream of working at and for NASA. And I did finally make it to NASA, actually. I made it to NASA back in 2010 and worked there for 6 months as a volunteer and 6 months as an employee to a contractor, subcontractor, and worked at the Visitor Center as an administrative assistant. And while I was there, they were nice enough to, I had mailed my presentation to NASA to show them. And when I was there, they were nice enough to show me something that someone else did that was much better. It was actually the Mars, I think it was like a demonstration of the Mars rover, the mission to Mars, and landing on Mars, and someone had put together an animation, and they were nice enough to show me that, and how much better it was than what I put together. But anyway, this is what I put together. This was my little dream, and this wasn't exactly it, but this is kind of my narrated version of what I put together. This is the NASA headquarters in Washington, D.C. Actually, I don't know that for a fact because I've never been there, but this is what I found on the internet that was identified as the NASA headquarters in Washington, D.C. I found a lot of pictures and artwork on the internet that I pulled together to use this. There was no, there were no sources identified, with regard to providing credit for the photography or the artwork, so I apologize for that. But anyway, this is supposedly NASA headquarters in Washington, D.C., of which I've never been to. This is Ames Research Center in Moffett Field, California, according to what I found, and I'm not sure exactly what they do in all of these places. When I was at NASA working as a volunteer, I worked in the publications department of Glenn Research Center, which is located on Brook Park Road in Cleveland, Ohio, near the airport. And when I was there, I sent out published materials to people who had inquired, and basically one of the big things I did was sort of a Dear NASA, kind of like a Dear Abby, Dear NASA. People wrote to me or called and asked for information, and I tried to provide them with resources and information and answers to their questions. One of the things that I found disturbing when I worked there was that there were people, individuals, not necessarily individuals within the United States, but outside of the United States, areas that were restricted from NASA, either as visitors or with regard to inquiries that were made for information and resources. And that sort of bothered me. I thought NASA was well, to me NASA was the jewel of the United States, the biggest federal agency, and I don't know, NASA was a pretty big deal to me. This is Dryden Flight Research Center at, I guess, Edwards Air Force Base, AFB, California, and I worked for a couple defense contractors in Huntsville, Alabama. This is Glenn Research Center, GRC, formerly known as Lewis Research Center in Cleveland, Ohio, where I worked. This is the hangar where they had the, I guess, some of the aircraft, sort of a great big empty thing. And I don't know if they have like exhibits or if they do any work in there. I've been in there, but there wasn't really anything in there when I was there. And what was I saying? As far as working for defense contractors, I didn't know I really didn't have any familiarity with the military or the government prior to that. I learned things like acronyms. I didn't know what acronyms were. Glenn Research Center, acronym, GRC. A lot of acronyms with the military and the government, and I really didn't know about that. And you can have a lot of fun with acronyms. And so I don't know an example. I guess the JAP, the Joint Aerostat Project. They're all a bunch of JAPs, which is also a derogatory. Well, yeah, I guess I don't even want to go there, but. You can play a lot of games, and you need to be, I guess, politically sensitive, or maybe even internationally politically sensitive when you're coming up with things like that, because you never know what the interpretation is going to be. But I loved getting to Glenn Research Center. They had a visitors center there, and I worked there at the visitors center, and there were movies, and a couple ideas that I had was to open up those movies and show them to the public on like Friday and Saturday nights, to have something for an alternative for people, for all of us space lovers and Star Trekkies and things like that out there who would have loved to have gone to Glenn Research Center to see a movie and ask them. They had hundreds of them, absolute hundreds, maybe even thousands of these movies. I got to look at a lot of them when I was there, and I was supposed to write some summaries on the movies, and that was one of the assignment tasks they gave me. And then I found a directory of all of the summaries that had already been written, and I was like, well, why am I doing this? This has already been done. This really doesn't need to be done, and it's already been done, and it was well done. So why am I redoing this? And so anyway, that was another one of my frustrations. But I did have the opportunity to watch a lot of the movies, and now I've got a lot of puzzlements and questions. But anyway, this is a view of Glenn Research Center, the hangar there. At night, and all lit up. This is Goddard Space Flight Center, I guess, in Greenbelt, Maryland. I've never been there. An aerial shot. The Jet Propulsion Laboratory in the California Institute of Technology in Pasadena, California. That looks like a big area. I don't know if that whole area is entirely the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, or just one small part of that, but that's an aerial view of that area. And another one of the problems that I've run into, I've been back in Cleveland, where I'm originally from, for the past 16 years, and I've had some little police issues. The police stopped me at one point because I was taking photographs, shooting photographs. I like photography, and I liked industrial photography, and I really liked the way industry was lit up at night and catching that light, and I was running around taking photos in an industrial area in Cleveland on Thanksgiving night one night. It was about, I don't know, 10 years or so-ish ago, and I was a student at the time, still am. And so I was taking some pictures, got stopped. The police told me I'm not allowed to take any photos at night, that no industrial photos. According to the Patriot Act, it's considered to be a security risk for the United States to take any industrial photography, shoot any photography. They don't want any, and I started considering that, and it's, so that's insanity. And unfortunately, that destroyed years and years and years of what might have been industrial photographic work that I could have done. But anyway, the police, I guess they got right in there and destroyed that. So that's gone. Anyway, this is, I guess this is the interior of Johnson Space Center. I'm guessing that's the control center, maybe for... maybe what has been used or what is used in Houston, Texas for mission control, space launches and things. I'm not quite sure, but that's what it looks like to me. I don't think it was identified when I found it. Maybe it was. This is John F. Kennedy Space Center in Cape Canaveral, Florida. That's where the space shuttles, I guess, were launched. I've never seen one. It would have been nice. It's my understanding that there are not any more shuttle launches, that was brought to a close, but I don't know if that was reactivated or still ongoing. One of the things that I had been interested in is computer science and programming, and I thought about the systems used for the launch, the computer systems, and the programming that goes into all of that, and whether or not one character, one typo, one wrong note, one wrong key, one wrong letter, one wrong 0 or 1 or what, binary and all of that, one wrong keystroke, and the whole thing crashes. I know I read about a project that the mission to Mars. I think it was a probe or something that crashed. That's what the story was anyway. It crashed because they had failed to convert from metric to, I don't know, whatever the units are, metric to standard or standard to metric, whatever they're called. They forgot to do a metric conversion, and the project crashed. And those were our geniuses at NASA. And I guess people make mistakes, and I've considered, you know, what you do with regard to mistakes and the people that have had to live with them. And there's an awful lot to consider, and an awful lot of nightmares. And but anyway, and there have been a lot of nightmares, as far as I know, with regard to the space program and crashes and explosions and things not going right. It's I guess it's a, you know, it's a pretty dangerous, serious thing. So this is Langley Research Center, Hampton, Virginia. I don't really know anything about that place. This is Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville, Alabama. That's where I lived, and I have visited Marshall very briefly, and they have the Space and Rocket Center there and Space Camp in Huntsville, Alabama, the University of Alabama in Huntsville, where they had some optics research. It was my understanding they were leading the way in optics research and had the Optics School of Engineering or something like that there at UAH. The leader in the country and maybe even in the world. One of the other things that Huntsville, Alabama was noted for was the leader in, what's it called, Doppler radar and weather forecasting, of which that failed when I was there. And there's, Huntsville is sort of a, I don't know if it is the tornado alley, maybe the tornado valley, and so it's very, the weather there is very dangerous. It's kind of curious why they would have, I'm kind of surprised that they would have, I don't know, maybe it's a test zone area, but I was kind of surprised that they would put federal installations, military installations, government installations in such dangerous places, you know, subjected to conditions that are conducive to such extreme destruction. But anyway, that's where I lived, in that area. It's a really nice place. It's a lot of very highly educated, very serious people, a lot of students. The student body of, there's also the what's it called, the Alabama A&M University, of which I considered attending, but it was much more expensive than the University of Alabama. That's one of the reasons I didn't make it. The Huntsville was seriously segregated in terms of race, and does not, or did not at the time I was there, which was 16 years ago, really have any public transportation, as far as, you know, being able, you had to have a car to live in Huntsville, Alabama. It was pretty difficult to survive without a car. There were no public transportation systems. And so anyway, it's supposed to have very nice schools, good schools. My family and I had some problems there when we were there, but you know, I guess it was okay. I've got a lot of commentary about that, but it was supposed to be very good. My kids did pretty well there, and I really liked the University of Alabama. It was an older, serious, more serious, non-traditional age university, I thought, and people were serious about school there. It wasn't a party school. And for that, you know, I was happy, because you know, it gave me the opportunity to get serious about academics, instead of, you know, dealing with the constant parties and games. But anyway, that's Huntsville, Alabama, Marshall Space Flight Center. John C. Stennis Space Center, Bay St. Louis, Mississippi. This is just some of my ideas about NASA, the galactic fusion of art and science. That was one of the things that came to mind in terms of what I considered NASA to be. Sounded good. Nice shot of a shuttle launch. As I said, I've never seen one. I considered it to be the ultimate project, NASA, the space program, the shuttle launch, where science and technology excel beyond imagination to new heights. A quantum leap through technology. From reality to infinity. Dreams. A technological synthesis of space, biotechnology, science, and physics for exploration and the progressive discovery of planetary systems. One of my thoughts. The ultimate project. The launch into a new dimension. One of the things that I did when I was working at Glenn Research Center for NASA was I traveled to science fair project, not science fairs, but kind of physics days at a few places. I went to a what's it called, an air show, I think in North Carolina. I got to travel, get on airplanes and stuff. Something I kind of thought I would really love doing, but traveling gets kind of old, especially when the lights all go out at the hotel and it's 4 o'clock in the morning and you don't have a flashlight and you've got to get on your next plane and you're in the middle of nowhere and you're not familiar with the area and you've got to find your rental car and there's a storm outside and you've got to walk through the stormy rain and you know, it just goes on and on and on, you know, disaster after disaster. But anyway, one of the things that I did was I set up a computer system and at these places where I was going to, I guess, spread the good word about NASA and encourage people to become interested and know more about NASA. And we had a computer system that we set up, and we could take your astronaut picture, and so that basically you would look similar to this photo right here, and that would be you in the astronaut suit. And I had a picture like that of me, and it was fun, and kids loved it, adults loved it, I loved doing it, and you know, it gave people an opportunity to meet some of the people working at NASA, the real people. A lot of people would love to have jobs at NASA, I think. I don't know. You know, there's so many people that would love to work at NASA. I think that, you know, a lot of people think working at NASA is a good federal job. You got yourself a good job. You got a federal job. There are so many people that have spent their lives learning about NASA, the space program, and becoming astronomers, scientists, physicists, getting straight A's through all their classes and doing all the right things. You know, personally, I think there are enough superstar people that did all the right things and spent their lives trying to get to NASA. I don't think we really need people that are going to that don't have their whole heart and soul in NASA and the space program. You know, there are too many people that loved everything about NASA, learned everything about NASA, and you know, if you're not completely there 200% in your heart and your head, I don't think that I don't think you really need to be there, because there's an abundance of people that really are there 200% in their heart and head that we have here in the United States and around the world. These are some pictures that have been taken, I believe, by NASA of the planets. I guess this was, you know, one of the... Is that a picture of one of the first missions to the moon, or maybe the only, or I don't know. You know, I've got some questions about that. Did they really make it to the moon? Did the astronauts really make it to the moon? Prove it. Can you prove it? Do you have all the engineering and the science and the knowledge, and can you actually prove that? I'm just completely befuddled when it comes to NASA. I started looking at the aerodynamics of the capsule and looking at the clips and asking questions, and did they quarantine those astronauts? Wait a minute, they just jumped out of that capsule. Didn't they have to be quarantined? And you know, and I just started looking at it, and the, what is it, the Eagle has landed on the moon, and that really doesn't look too aerodynamic. And did that thing just launch off the surface of the moon and re-engage with the capsule, and that was jettisoned back to the Earth? And I just went on and on and on. And my little head, I was a secretary, my little head was just spinning with questions that I couldn't explain. And I tried becoming an engineer, and I didn't quite make it because I got through calculus. I even retook the math series a second time to make sure, the whole thing, to make sure that I had it. And you know, it had been a while since I had taken classes and I hadn't finished college. I went back to college and tried to be an engineer, retook the math series to make sure that I had it, and I got through calculus. I think I made A's all the way through, and by the time I got through calculus, I thought, you know, I really don't understand it. I can't explain it to you, and I'm like a monkey that can do the math, but I can't explain it. And I don't think I'm going to get through 6 more classes, and I don't think I have the mind to invent this stuff, teach this stuff, and make others understand it, because, like I said, you know, monkey, the monkey can get straight A's, but the monkey really doesn't understand what's going on here. So here we are. Astronaut in space above the Earth. Looks like there's not a whole lot of gravity. I wondered how far up does the atmosphere go and things like that, and how thick is the atmosphere, and what makes up the atmosphere, and what's the chemical composition of the other planets. Is there another what the heck is it called? The periodic table of elements for chemistry. Is there a separate periodic table for each planet? Here's a nice shot of Earth. There looks like a hurricane. And what's this? Is this the space station here? There's the Mars rover, and that's supposed to be Mars, the surface of Mars. A symbiotic machine. What the heck is a symbiotic machine? I think this is in one of the NASA laboratories with one of the NASA scientists working on it. It looks like it's a very clean environment. He's covered from head to toe in garments of which are probably dust-free and everything-free. Probably a very sterile, very clean, static-free, I have no idea, environment. There's the solar system. Yeah, you got a million questions about that too. I only took, I think, one class in astronomy in college, and I've got a million questions about that. My recommendation to my daughter recently was get her kids to take a look at the stars. I always, when I was a kid, I knew the Big Dipper and the Little Dipper, looking at the constellations. But if you get your kid interested in one constellation, for example, what was it? Is it Orion? There's a star called Betelgeuse. I didn't know that. Betelgeuse is a star. Wait, I knew the movie Betelgeuse. I didn't know that was a star. I think this might be Mercury, but I'm not sure. These are some of the planets here. This is I guess this is an artist's rendition. Sorry that I don't have credit for all these things. I just found them on the internet and pulled them together for this program. I think this is supposed to be Pluto, and that's kind of a NASA Pluto shot. What's this? That's I think that's a galaxy there, and these are supposed to be close-up shots of galactic pictures in space, of which NASA had all kinds of resources like this that, you know, pictures like this you could call or write NASA, and they would send out pictures, nice pictures and posters of these things that were available for free. The visitor center at Glenn Research Center is now closed. It has moved to the Cleveland Science Museum, Great Lakes Science Museum in downtown Cleveland, and so there's a tail view of the shuttle, and there's the shuttle coming in on one of the NASA planes, I guess in for a landing or being transported or something. Imagine soaring beyond yesterday's horizons to new flights. That's NASA. I could say a lot more. I can go on and on and on, and but I guess in what do we have here, 24 minutes? That's it. Thank you. Have a great day. That's my 2 cents for today.